To fully understand what shadow work is, first you need to have a vague understanding of how you work in your internal world as an emotional being. You are the conscious driver of this human being. Your consciousness is actually the part of your being that is multiple parts. Have you ever heard of multiple personality disorder? Every human has multiple personalities. Every single one of us. It's just when it's so extreme like that, that's when we've started labeling multiple personality disorder that. But that's one of the things that most humans don't really know, is that we are all multiple personalities. We've had many experiences in our lives, and I'm talking hundreds, if not thousands of experiences in our lives where we've experienced emotional distress without resolution for that distress. And in those moments, we had unmet needs. When that happens to a living human, what happens at the consciousness level, your consciousness fragments into different parts. This is the multiple personalities as well. So it's not like, oh, you only have 10 personalities and that's it. You can have more and more depending on the experiences you've had in your life and what happens when you are experiencing trauma. And trauma is not only when big things happen like death in the family or a car crash or sexual abuse or when you're having a fight at school or when you have an accident. Trauma happens with things that you would never even, you'd be like, no. Being scolded is extremely traumatizing. Being told that you shouldn't feel jealous and your needs being pushed away. Being made fun of, everyone around you laughing at you, your parents forgetting to pick you up from school or picking you up late from school, being taken off the teat without your say so and your agreement to it, being taken off the dummy. There are so many things that are traumatizing that will fall in the category of trauma because it's emotional distress that was not resolved. But again, remember, we fragment our consciousness and create parts. The way that we protect ourselves is you could have an experience that the emotion of that experience is so overwhelming for you and you don't know how to handle it because we were never brought up in a way of learning how to regulate our emotions or what's even going on. In fact, it was the opposite. We were brought up in a way to reject our emotions, reject how we're feeling. Otherwise, we would be punished. We would get told off and we would get rejected. So we're constantly learning how to reject these parts. We reject these parts by putting these parts at the consciousness level somewhere we don't have conscious awareness of, which is our subconscious. We're completely unaware. These are the unconscious parts. And come back to what you said earlier, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what parts of ourselves are in the part that we are unconscious of. That is what we call the human shadow. The human shadow are the aspects of ourselves that we are unconscious of, unaware of, which have been created, and the parts of ourselves that were fragmented in the experiences of our lives that we had, which was too emotionally distressful for us without resolution for that distress. Shadow work is to bring those unconscious parts of ourselves from the shadow into the light of our consciousness. So to become aware of them. This is why any self-exploratory work falls in the umbrella of shadow work. If I journal, then I'm doing shadow work. If I'm sat down thinking about it and kind of journaling in my head, I'm doing shadow work. If I go towards my emotions and allowing these emotions to take over, if I'm sitting with my anxiety, if I'm doing full integration work, if I'm doing parts work, if I'm doing inner child work, they all are shadow work because you're bringing into the light of consciousness the unconscious parts. This is how you raise self-awareness, because you're becoming more aware of parts of yourself that you were unaware of. The main way that you do that is through emotions. So you have to allow the emotions of these parts of yourself to be there. And this is how you increase your emotional intelligence as well.